Do you remember the first technical problem we had? Wasn't it? Do you? Because I don't.
Yeah, it was. Wasn't somebody not wearing headphones or something? It was just coming through the speakers.
No, that never happened. Let's change the subject.
Was that Rob?
It was Rob.
It was.
Yeah.
It was Mr. Radio Production.
Oh, shush.
Right. So, what point were we up to again?
We were talking about Sarah Palmer, and we were talking about
Face Palmer.
We were talking about what are we supposed to glean from how this character has evolved in the last couple of times that we've seen her. And I was saying, why is Sarah doing the smashing the picture? Is it because she's angry because she's Jowday? I was saying that I basically dislike the ambiguity around this. And what are we supposed to think of Sarah now? Because in a way, it totally retcons. Like, if it's going to change the way you look at Sarah if you go back and look at the original series now. And I dislike the way this ambiguity has sort of cast this shadow over her character, because there was a incredible performance there and a sort of deep sincerity in with regards to the horror, her loss of her daughter and her sorrow and pain and anguish and torture that we got in the original series. And I'm not quite sure what we're supposed to take home from what happened in the return.
I have numerous questions about this. The first question is just a temporal one, because this right now, Laura's body has vanished from the banks of the lake. So has time now changed? Because from the scene with Sarah flipping out and stabbing Laura's photograph with the broken bottle, it would seem that time has not changed because all those things are still there. Another question that is raised is that, is Sarah Judy, or is she? That's a supposition, that's an implication, but it's not really a fact. That hasn't really landed as a definite thing that she is some kind of avatar. Yeah.
Well, I think if you want facts, you've tuned into the wrong show.
I want some piece of information so I can feel or think something about what I'm seeing. That's all I need.
Well,
what do you think, Jay? The man who needs no facts.
Well, yeah. Well, I think when we first saw the freaky side to Sarah Palmer, which was in that bar in presumably Twin Peaks, where she opens her face up and we see all kinds of stuff, and we do see the experiment stroke the mother stroke Judy, if those are in fact all the same thing, inside her. So I think for me, I'm personally in no doubt that she is a manifestation of Judy.
And how long has she been?
The question then becomes, well, this is the thing. It's like, has she been continually Judy, or is this a more recent thing? Personally, I lean towards a more recent thing.
Yeah, because that's my problem with it, is if you're saying that, I mean, basically this Jowday creature is essentially the source of all evil.
Let's just say Judy, because because I think Mr. C created the glass box in New York City to not maybe so much to trap Coop, but to actually bring Judy into this world, so that he could, for reasons unknown, meet up with Judy. And I think he has been on this path to end up at the Palmer's residence to finally meet up with Judy. What the results of that, who knows? And I'm not even 100% convinced that is the journey that he was on. I'm just leaning in that direction. At that point, I think when Judy was brought into the world, I think that's the point where Sarah became
the vessel,
the host. Yeah, for Judy. I don't think she has been Judy this entire time, and so I don't think it negates anything that has happened to her previously. But I think because she's in a very negative place, I think that has allowed Judy to enter her, and because Sarah is the mother of Laura Palmer, and Judy is, in inverted commas, the mother as well. Perhaps that sort of connection.
I must say, I feel quite strongly that perhaps all this is related to the frog moth, and that Sarah Palmer may well have been that girl, and
that's an equally valid interpretation.
And that Judy began life as a non-corporeal, as a physical entity, in the form of that frog moth inside Sarah Palmer. But what I really don't like is the idea that Sarah Palmer throughout all of this saga has been the source of all evil. That's the sort of retcon that I really dislike the implication of.
Yeah, but at the moment, because this last episode or last pair of episodes of Twin Peaks has really, really avoided dotting the I's and crossing the T's in terms of facts. All we're left with is supposition, and if you don't like that particular interpretation, you can interpret it a completely different way, and that is just as valid as anybody else's interpretation.
Yeah, I'm just failing to find a way to interpret it that is interesting. That's my problem. That's it. Intellectually, it's not interesting. Emotionally, it's unengaged. It's just like it's just stuff.
Emotionally, it's a total turn off. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not clever or anything. It's just things happening. If all the if all the weird trippy stuff were couched or were in a show where the kind of the traditional narrative stuff had been handled brilliantly, I'd feel I was in safe. I'd feel I was in a plane with a pilot who knew what they were doing. But I don't. I don't trust the makers of this to be not wasting my time. I don't know what it means, and I have no interpretations of what it means because there's nothing interesting about it. Yeah.
I will say that if we not to focus too hard on that sequence with Laura, with Sarah Palmer, but just to take this sequence as a whole, with Laura being essentially saved and then being lost again, I think that moment, that walk through the woods, that kind of looping back with Fire Walk with Me, was the first time I'd felt transformed, or that like my environment had been transformed around me and I'd been carried away somehow. Like, that's the first time I felt like that since the old days, the original series.
See, that stuff I did like in this episode, and I'm trying to look at this episode in isolation as an exercise.
I can't remember if we've actually talked about, or if we've in our sort of recap, if we actually pointed out that Cooper looks back and finds that she's not holding his hand and he's not there anymore. I can't remember if we said that, but
well, my interpretation of that is that Judy, by smashing the picture, caused Laura to disappear.
Okay, because I actually can't remember the sequence of events. If you see her smashing the picture and then Laura's gone, is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
that makes sense. Yeah.
We go from the scene of Sarah stabbing the picture, but then we cut to Cooper and Laura going through the woods like in a dream. He leads her the way you might do in a dream through the woods to the White Lodge, and that was lyrical, and that was wonderful. There is stuff here I recognise as
Peaks.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm not being a Debbie Downer. There is some stuff here that is legitimately great.
Yeah. No, it just gave me that feeling. I don't know how to best describe it, but it's almost like somebody picked up the living room that I'm sitting in, or the house even, and just carried it off around the solar system for a short time and put it back again. But there's this strange, even though I had no idea what was going on, there's this sort of a feeling of kind of disorientation that's actually very pleasurable. And Twin Peaks did that back in the day, and this moment for me, it did it again, but not, it hasn't done it much. And it was really, really nice to be back in that place again. And when Cooper stares into the trees, after he loses Laura, and then he stares out into the trees, and he's just watching, and there's just his POV into the wood. I think that's the first time I've actually been scared in the same way that I'd been scared with the original series, with Bob and the spirits in the woods and the owls and all that stuff. It was that trepidation of what was going to happen, what was going to come out of those woods. As it happened, nothing did. But
Julie Cruz came out of the woods.
Well, she did, yeah, and that in itself is pretty scary.
Yeah, I love that bit when Laura does disappear. The sound design to me, I watched it twice. It wasn't the sound of owls, I don't think, but it evoked the sounds of owls flapping to me. But also, for the first time since Coop has returned, he's run out of plan. And therefore, for the first time, for me, when he loses Laura, it felt like Coop. It felt like Coop again. Yeah.
I think probably that sense of kind of returning, of feeling home again, was a lot to do with that, with having Coop back. Having Coop back again, and having him, be a man with a plan, and then suddenly without a plan, and it just felt we were on the right road somehow.
Interesting as well, talking about the sound design in that woods thing, was that as Laura's hand leaves Coop's hand, we get a kind of like weird, kind of like crackling sound.
Oh, electricity sound, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Which I think was more like the when the fireman at the very, very beginning of episode 1 told Coop to listen, and there was that kind of like crackling sound, like vinyl crackling.
All right.
Agent Cooper, listen to the sounds. Is this in Alaska?
It is.
It was that kind of kind of sound.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure as well whether it was also the sound of the frog moth as well. I need to go back and listen to it some more to be definitive. But it was more than the electricity sound. It was either that vinyl crackling sound or the frog moth sound.
Interesting as well that the Julie Cruz track that comes in immediately after that, which is The World Spins. It's also the track that's used in the episode after Maddie is killed in episode 14 of the second series.
Is that the one where everyone starts crying?
Yeah. So in a way, that sort of signals that it has happened again.
It is happening again. It is happening again.
Yeah, and again, I will say this was one of the best end credits as well. This one worked. This Return to the Roadhouse was brilliant. I mean, they can work.
In a way, given what we got in the next episode, you could have ended this series here, I think. I think the next episode has a sort of statement to make, but this would have been a perfectly good ending, I think.
Yeah, a lot of people on Reddit have mentioned that and said, yeah, you could have ended it here, and it would have been, it would have been fine. Would have been a different kind of ending.
But I mean, I'm glad that the episode 18 was there. Actually, I think it did something. I think it gave it a much more sort of. I think this would have been a little bit more of a sort of fan servicey ending, where episode 18 was truly a sort of David Lynch ending. But we'll go into that as we go.
Well, I had two different feelings about part 17 and part 18. I thought part 17 was serviceable but not fantastic, and I was much more sold on part 18.
Yeah, I don't see the need really to sort of differentiate between the two. They seem very much sort of they seem sort of two phrases of the same sentence.
Yeah, I always find it hard when we cover two episodes at once to either, it's that decision to treat them as one or treat them as two. But also I'm finding it very hard to look at these without the context of them being the end to an 18-part TV series. So I'm actually finding it quite hard to decide on my angle of approach for talking about these.
Do you want some time?
No, that's fine. Well, yeah, I'll just do it moment by moment and see what comes out, and hopefully it won't be too moany. Well, no promises.
Carrying on with part 18, which opens with Mr. C in the Red Room on fire.
Which I loved.
Yeah, I love that too. It's an incredible image, yeah.
But it was also left slightly ambiguous for me as to whether this was really the end of Mr. C. Yeah, he's on fire, but what does that mean in the context of the Red Room?
Punishment, I guess, torture, failure.
But he didn't look like he was, his expression was quite, expressionless, I should say. It didn't feel like he was being punished. He was
he's a doppelganger. He's not a tulpa. So essentially he's still around. He's just back in the Red Room.
Yeah. So, but I like that ambiguity. I liked, that the door was slightly ajar for Mr. C.
I don't know if the door is ajar for any of this stuff. But
that's the other problem I've got with discussing this and trying to approach it critically is because for me the door. Well, I felt the door has been left so wide open for season 4. There are so many things I have to say about this that could be answered with. Yet wait till season 4. To hand, I've got a lot of criticisms that could be very easily hand waved with.
I don't think there's any intention on the part of Lynch and Frost to make make another season.
Well, okay. Well, in that case, for me personally, just so you guys know, I'm going to. In that case, let's say then that there will not be a season 4. So let's just discuss this on its own merits.
Yeah, my personal feeling as well is that this is how Lynch wanted to end it, and I think you could look at the season as a whole and say, well, yeah, they've left loads of unanswered questions for a season 4. But my interpretation of that is that on the one hand, it feels like a massive waste of time to have so many storylines that are left unresolved. But on the other hand, I think a lot of the stuff that was happening in Twin Peaks is to really say that all the kind of crap and craziness and evil and weirdness that was happening to the previous generation of Twin Peaks folks is now happening to this second generation. It's like it's nothing has ended, it's all still happening. And Lynch has spoken about his love of Twin Peaks as in this this kind of this crazy place, and I think part of that is having all of these kind of like strange unexplained events that are taking place, which you can't tie up in a little bow and say, here you go, this plot strand was resolved and this plot strand was resolved, because I think it goes back to that, Jeffrey's...
I think there's a difference between tying up plot strands with a neat little bow and actually kind of making sort of substantial use of what you establish.
Yeah, because Amanda Seyfried, where did she go? If this is it, that was her.
Yeah, they ran out of money.
Yeah. So in that case, this new generation has been. Well, so what? We barely met them, and most of them are dead.
Yeah, I'm not defending it because I personally don't think it was the right thing to do. As all of us have, as we've gone through this, we've said there were too many plot strands, there are too many characters. Too many episodes, and I think if you were to take an axe to this, and as the TV execs wanted, to condense this down. Because I think originally they were going to have like 9 episodes or something like that, and Lynch wanted to have this 18 episode arc. And I think it was way too long, and Lynch had to kind of pad it out a little bit, and it felt padded. It's like they maybe have shot like 16 episodes worth of material, and they've had to kind of like insert bits.
I think what you're talking about is filler or killer.
Yeah. Funny thing is, although I did not really enjoy the experience of watching these final 2 episodes. Perhaps if the preceding 16 episodes had been different, these 2 same episodes could have been a satisfying conclusion.
It's like I said at the beginning, there's so much about these 2 episodes unto themselves were perfectly fine and enjoyable slices of Lynch pie. Yeah. For me, for the most part. But given so much of what we'd endured in order to get here, and so much of what was left out of the whole equation by the time we'd finished these last 2 episodes, it cast a shadow over those last 2 episodes for me, to the point that I'm left wondering about what it was that I just consumed.
Yeah, I mean, as we still are on Mr. C. It would have been nice if Coop and Mr. C had met and actually had a scene.
Yeah, it's true actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they kind of did where Cooper slipped a ring onto Mr. C's
But he was unconscious
hand,
and dead by then, wasn't he?
I know what you're saying, Rob.
It's not a substantial interaction. There's no conflict there. Yeah. He's already out for the count.
Not that we were ever promised anything, but I think everyone in their minds imagined that there would be some sort of confrontation between these 2.
Yeah, definitely. You can put that in the missed opportunities column for sure. And again, talking about missed opportunities, it felt really, really odd to me. And one of the reasons why Part 17 was, I would describe as serviceable, was the fact that Cooper has been missing for 25 years. He turns up in Twin Peaks for like 5 minutes and goes, "Hi everyone, I hope sometime I'll meet you all again. I'm off." It's like, dude, you've been back for 5 minutes and you're already off again.
In terms of this, in terms of the way that the context of all this is this kind of infinite time loop, and this is part of this is happening, yes, but it's also part of his dream that he had in 1989, and I think this is his dream self saying, "I hope to see you all again," which of course he does some months later, so I think it works like that, at least for me.
For me, I kind of thought, well, it's straight. I feel pity for Cooper that this is his life, but it's actually very similar to Philip Jeffries in Firewalk with Me.
That he pops in and pops out. Yeah.
It's the tragedy of people who deal with
the Blue Rose cases. Occupational hazard.
Yeah. So Coop is kind of doomed. So Coop is kind of doomed to this now, and I feel great pity for him that this is his fate. It's not what I would have wanted for the guy because I loved him. I'd have wanted him happy, but unless well, no, this is it. There's no season 4. This is it. It just seems that Dale Cooper is doomed to this weird Twilight interdimensional hell, basically.
Yeah, limbo, purgatory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike creates another Dougie Jones from the seed and the bit of hair.
Yes, that was given to him by Cooper on him coming out of the coma.
Electricity.
Where am I?
And we speculated that this might be what he would do. Cooper wouldn't go back. He would send a new Dougie Jones.
And we were right.
And that whole plot thing was resolved in about 30 seconds.
That was long enough for me. I did wonder why is Dougie still sound? Why does he now sound still a bit backwards? Because she's you're home. He says like some sort of weird elongated suit wearing ET.
It was Dale Cooper's hair, but does he wear product? Did that kind of contaminate the sample, perhaps, or something?
A bit of Brill cream in there, and that's
my notes there were new Coop, Dougie, bullshit, lazy, yawn, fuck off, plot convenience. That was my note.
Rob, tell us how you really feel.
That I just kind of thought, yeah, okay. I genuinely thought when Coop in episode 17 says, I need another seed, I actually thought there's urgency there. He needs to defeat evil or something. But no, he's just, I need to wrap that whole thing up. It just, yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is the thing. On the one hand, I can't take it on faith that all the kind of the vague, arty, lynchy stuff
arty. He said the word. He said the heathen word.
I know I did. But has been created by someone who knows what he's doing. When this stuff is bollocks.
Part of me wonders whether stuff like this, all this kind of like resolution stuff, comes from Mark Frost rather than.
He's very capable.
The scapegoat.
He's very capable of this.
Not that Lynch
are they being arch? Am I kind of taking it? Am I getting affronted by it when they're kind of being? Are they trying to be ironic? Are they being ironic or kind of?
Well, here's my take on it. I think Lynch often works best when he's collaborating with people, because he collaborated with Engels on Fire Walk with Me.
Brilliant job.
That was absolutely...
You're right about him collaborating with Engels. Yeah. That turns out gold.
But it doesn't always work out that way. I think Mark Frost has a particular knack. He has his own kind of like niche weirdnesses, which in many cases complement Lynch's weirdnesses, and together they can create something which is quite amazing. But I think perhaps Frost doesn't have some of the kind of like the plot nuances. Like I think he's a very broad strokes.
I just think the whole
writer, and some of the kind of like ham-fisted dialogue, which I feel comes from Frost, doesn't quite work, and I think
it's been written very quickly. It's been conceived very quickly, and it's been written very quickly, and
it does have that feeling of having been done in quite a rush.
Yeah, everything does, and the idea that Dougie Jones could span out for all these episodes and kind of engage us is. I really have problems with people who say that they thought that element was great and that They're going to miss Dougie now. He's gone. I don't believe that's Stockholm syndrome. You know,
because in the previous episode, Janie E twigged somehow, although I still don't know what the moment when she twigged that he's not Dougie, but he comes back anyway, and he is Dougie again, and she's okay with that. I have no idea what is going on in her head.
Yeah, it's how are we meant to read it, basically. How are we meant to read the way in which Naomi Watts' character Jane E engages with this doppelganger, or because it's emotionally and psychologically sloppy as fuck, really.
Yeah, it feels like you English class at school. You're writing a story, and you want to get it finished in 2 pages because time's running out. So and the end. All this stuff is just getting ended, and that we cut back to Dougie just to end all that subplot.
Yeah, it's true.
We don't need it.
It's true actually, because what you were saying, Jay, about this is the wrong show to come for facts and things tied up with neat bows and stuff. But I mean, that's exactly what he's doing there with this Dougie Jones thing, and it's I'm almost choking on it, So
because I think, like, just to continue what I was saying previously, Mark Frost's interests are things like an interest in the occult, and I think some of the kind of like more the supernatural elements, the way that is plotted, and it's all kind of like quite cleverly intertwined, but the human story that's above that has been forgotten or has been lessened at the expense of all this kind of like of Mark Frost trying to make sense of how the lodges work and that sort of stuff.
I must say I'm surprised and relieved at how little Blue Book / X-File-y type stuff was in this series, because I expected, what with all the pointers from like, even back in the original series with Major Briggs and stuff, it seemed to be all going sort of very, dark skies kind of territory, and it didn't really go there beyond the fireman, and that obviously has some sort of celestial connection, but.
Yeah, what it did, I think the way it got around that is all the type of people who are usually involved in, flying saucers, black ops, that kind of thing. So the FBI, Air Force generals and majors and all that kind of stuff. Those type of stock characters are present, but rather than being involved in some kind of X-Files thing, it is more like they've just those stock people who deal with that kind of thing have happened to stumble across something that is more spiritual. I mean, they are so in genre terms, it kind of still fits, but really they kind of all behave more like hippies than
like new age sort of white middle class art school teachers who've gotten into like Tibetan chanting and things.
Yeah, my next note is I wrote recap and can't remember why I did. We have a recap.
Yes,
that's right. It jumps back in time and we see again Cooper lose Laura again for some reason. Yeah,
that was it. Yeah,
that was a bit weird. I felt because that was the first
really
time.
Weird.
Absolutely.
In this series where we'd been shown something one episode and then we go back and see the same thing again. Obviously, not counting Dr. Ant.
I know we have this displaced time element that's sort of threaded it throughout. Let's say the latter third of the series, but still, I mean, literally taking wholesale and copy pasting from one episode to the next. It almost feels like they forgot that they had that scene in a previous episode and plunked it in another one. It felt messy as hell. I know it sort of ends differently, but I mean, it's literally the same footage and the same cuts. It's odd, man. Really odd.
So we see that bit again, and I'm wondering whether, again, this was, they needed X amount of time in the episode, and if it wasn't revisiting this, then they would have had more driving in silence shots.
I did actually think is that it's just on keeping on the repetition topic. The very next scene, which is with Mike and Cooper in the Black Lodge, White Lodge. I I'm still unsure about the identity of the lodges. In fact, I'm sort of swinging towards the fact that the Black and the White Lodge look the same, and that the other place is another place. I mean, also the evolution of the arm was previously called the Man from Another Place, wasn't he? So I don't know. I'm still very blurry on how the distinct these places are. But anyway, no. Mike and Dale, the conversation that they had, I just made a note as I was watching it. Is this a repeat from episode 1 or episode 2?
Is it future or is it past?
I'm guessing time is looping again. There was something with the conversation that set an alarm bell off in my head that made me think I've seen this scene before, very early on in the beginning of this series.
Yeah, because he says, "Is it future or is it past?"
Yeah. There you go. Perfect. Because that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
and he's in a kind of weird freeze frame until he starts speaking as well, which is kind of like quite bizarre.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. I felt no complaints with any of this stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting. He says he says, help me now. Does he say, I think Cooper makes reference to Laura, and then he says, is that Laura Palmer or the little girl who lived down the lane? Is that what he says?
That's the evolution of the arm.
Yeah.
Who says that the arm repeats what was said previously, but adds the line about the little girl who lives down the lane.
Is it the story of the little girl who lived down the lane? Is it?
Which is also what Audrey said.
Yes, that's right.
Whatever kind of like weird state that she was in.
Is that the story of the little girl who lived down the lane? Is it?
And that's very interesting. And I will come to that later because I've got an idea about that and about what that means. I must mention as well. Not to keep blowing my celestial trumpet again. But if you look,
you'll give yourself a bad back mark.
I got really excited. It's getting worse, isn't it? But when Cooper's sitting there in the red room, let's say that's safe. We'll say the red room. In that black prop chair. Next to him, there is a prop ornament, and it is a glowing green Saturn. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah, that's been there from the beginning.
Yeah,
since,
it has. Yeah,
a recurring prop.
Yeah, it may. I've had these sort of Saturn feelings. Oh no, it's also because there's the Jupiter and Saturn line, isn't there, in the original series from Major Briggs.
Jupiter and Saturn meet. They will receive you.
Yeah, because when they're aligned, then you can get into the lodge.
That's right, yeah. And because I wondered that at some point, if those two planets are aligned, then between them would be the only planet or the only entity in our solar system that has seas, that has flowing seas, which is Titan, Saturn's moon. And the seas of methane, but it would fit with this image of the purple sea, and what I don't know what you want to call that space, but the place where the fireman seems to live.
The Mauve Zone.
Yeah,
that's
the Mauve Zone.
What people on Reddit are calling it.
And it has seas and rocks, not dissimilar to Earth, but
yeah, my gut feeling is that wherever they are, it's not a planet.
Yeah.
Or moon floating around in our solar system.
Well, but I mean, just 18 episodes later, sometimes I've said something crazy and you've gone, No, I don't really think so, Mark. And then later, I've been, right.
Okay.
Apologies for the interruption. Do not be alarmed. This is Mark, but not Mark as you know him. Mark from 25 years hence. I bring you a footnote from the future. Jason, who now in 2042 lives inside a giant black kettle, he's sent me back to right his wrongs of the past. You see, while 2017 Jason is highly skeptical about my half-baked Twin Peaks theories to do with Saturn's moon Titan, I can assure you that the future Jason very much regrets that skepticism. Not only is Saturn's moon Titan very frequently referred to as Earth's twin due to the similarities of its rock formations and seas. The seas are what initially made me think of Titan when we were introduced to the mauve zone, as it's called on Reddit. Sometimes Titan is even called Earth's evil twin on account of the lack of oxygen, icy poisonous cyanide clouds, and the seas are made of liquid methane. So it would seem to me that not only does Titan, our celestial doppelganger if you like, have a credible interest for Lynch thematically, but also a physical one, because Dumont is the name of a mountain range on Titan, possibly the largest mountain range, and get this, it's also the name of a twin peak that rises almost a mile high in that mountain range. So you have to admit that's quite a lot of twinning. An evil twin of Earth between Jupiter and Saturn, with vast seas, twin peaks and icy poisonous cyanide clouds. How could Lynch and Frost not be into this? It might be something, it might not be, but I do think, why be specific about these visual details? Why show us rocky formations and seas and connect them to space? Why mauve? And on that, actually, Titan in fact can be seen to have what NASA have called a purple haze surrounding the moon, and it's the result of some photochemical reaction in its stratosphere. Anyway, I'm going to leave that on the Formica Table. I'm going to go back to 2042 now, and only you, the listener, will know that I've been here. Future Jason will be very, very pleased.
So anyway, carrying on with the plot.
Saturn aside.
Saturn aside. Coop makes his way out of the lodge, and I like the little thing that he does with his hand. He does like a little hand flutter, and the curtains start fluttering.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Show him
yeah.
the way out.
Yeah.
I thought that was.
How did he learn that
nice
trick? Where did he get that one from?
Well, I mean, he's been in there for 25 years.
I suppose he's probably figured a few things out.
Yeah, he's picked up a few tricks here and there, and he emerges in Glastonbury Grove, where Diane is waiting for him. Presumably, this is the curtain call that he referenced earlier.
Yeah,
and they do a little thing where they kind of like do a little double check. Are you a doppelganger?
Is it really you?
Yeah, is it really you?
Imagine if
I was a doppelganger, I would just say yes.
Yeah, but imagine, yeah, of course you would, yeah. But again, imagine if this had been Annie Blackburn. It
should have been Annie. I think that's. Yeah, and I reckon in an earlier draft
definitely.
It was.
I really think so.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what happened there. I'm itching to know what happened there, because there's still room
to chat to Mark Frost and just say, was it supposed to be Annie? Yeah, and if not, what?
The thing is, I can almost see it in my head. I can see the scene play out with Heather Graham in it.
Because in so many ways, this is an immediate for Fidel Cooper, an immediate sequel to the end of season 2. And in these final 2 episodes, especially, this is still part of that same runner. Yeah, yes, 25 years have elapsed in the meantime, but he's still in that same runaround, sorting out that same set of problems.
Also, he's out of time. He's out of place. I mean, there's nothing to say that his experience of time is the same as ours. His experience of 25 years could be quite different to ours.
Yeah. But that's the thing. But for that very point, it's kind of Annie should still be involved.
It's what we were talking about last time, Jay. You were saying that that it was kind of, or maybe it was you, Rob. I can't remember, but that it was very Cooper to sort of.
I said having a relationship with Diane feels really unprofessional and not the kind of thing Dale Cooper would have done.
And also, but the way he starts, dating, shall we say? Because that's really what it was. It was very kind of quaint and sweet and sort of gentle. His sort of dating with Annie,
kind of chivalrous and
and it seems to me like that Cooper would never have been,
it confuses me when
absolutely would have been how's Annie,
Yeah,
it's very un-Cooper to imagine that he would come out of all this and not give a second thought to her. It's very odd.
And it confuses me, when did the Coop Diane thing happen?
Yeah.
Just I'm at sea there.
Yeah.
But hey.
I mean, he was very much in love. He was very taken with her, and that was a major plot point, really, about how deeply in love they were, and how and how she got sort of taken away from him by Wyndham Earl, and that's kind of something that drove the last few episodes of the second series.
And Coop coming out of Glastonbury Grove feels like, in many ways, the conclusion to him entering the Red Room at that point, back at the end of season 2.
Yeah.
So again, it just feels fitting that that's where it should have taken us.
It's interesting you say chivalrous, actually, because I forgot to mention last week, the road that.
I forgot to mention that too. Yes,
yeah. The road that Dougie Jones lives on is Lancelot Court.
Exactly.
And of course, this has a whole kind of Merlin, King Arthur connection, along with
Glastonbury Grove,
Glastonbury Grove as well. Yeah. And as you say, Cooper is very much that sort of archetypal, sort of white knight, shining armor character that will go out of his way to help a damsel in distress.
Yeah, but it was Andy, the kind of the innocent Galahad figure, who's the one who got to go to the White Lodge, if we're calling it that.
Yeah.
He's the So again, there is definitely an Arthurian thing.
Yeah. Also that if you go back and still consider season 2 canon, which it seems like Frost and Lynch are sort of moving away from that. But as Lancelot did, Cooper stole Wyndham Earl's, his mentor.
Yes.
Stole Wyndham Earl's wife, like
Guinevere and Arthur.
Like Guinevere. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just simply to say that it's kind of it's weird to abandon all that stuff.
Yeah, because obviously the reason why he's in the lodge for 25 years is directly as a result of Wyndham
and
Earl.
Trying to save Annie.
So it would have been nice to have it kind of like name checked.
Exactly. That's all
way.
I want.
Yeah.
That's all I want. I guess the second you do that, then it all falls apart, doesn't it? Or it demands more.
I mean, I don't get the sense that all of this is deliberate. I feel a lot of it's sort of at a script level damage limitation. A bit of a salvage job, I think, has gone on.
I did think in the woods it was a very beautiful kind of classic Hollywood kind of movie star lighting on Laura Dern, just standing there in the trees.
Yeah, quite often with things like that, I've always got in the back of my mind, where's the light coming from?
Yeah.
Is this light all coming from the moon?
Yeah. What's that line? Where's the light coming from? Yeah, same place as the music. Yeah.
Those two go on a bit of a drive to a motel.
Well, there's an important part before that, isn't there? Because they pass through a certain point.
You sure you want to do this? You don't know what it's going to be like once we...
I know that. We're at that point now. I can feel it.
And Cooper goes out to investigate. They park the car. Cooper goes out to investigate, and then there's some electricity crattle. There's some pylons nearby, and he says, "Yep, this is the place."
This is the place, all right.
I did like this scene, though. It reminded me of all those kind of, sun-drenched noirs, like, sort of desert scenes and stuff like Kiss Me Deadly and that kind of thing. And I also liked seeing Coop expressing human uncertainty, which we haven't seen much of since his return, and that felt like Dale Cooper. He's a character. He's not the man with the plan anymore. He's kind of on the black foot. He's lost, but he's trying.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a plan, but he's not quite sure what's going to happen once he implements it.
He's lost that. He's lost that confidence.
He says to her, once we cross, everything could be different.
Yeah.
So it seems to suggest that he knows that whatever's going to happen next might be chaotic, and that it seems to imply that once they cross this point, they might not be who they are now when they get out there. To say, once we get over there, everything might change, which of course it does.
One thing that's worth keeping in mind about all this stuff, though, is that essentially, as far as we know, this is the end of Twin Peaks. This is the closing movement of Twin Peaks. So everything that happens now is extremely important as to what this whole thing's about. Mm-hmm. And that's just worth keeping at the front of our minds as we discuss this, I think.
I mean, I think because of the performers and because of the sort of the reverence of it being the final episode, there's enough electricity within this episode that it kind of keeps me engaged, even though I did fall asleep because it was very, very late. But watching it again, but it has enough. It has enough in it. And it has enough. It's intriguing enough because of the fact that we have no idea what we're constantly moving forwards. We just don't know what we're moving toward. As an episode by itself, it's fine. As the final statement on Twin Peaks, it feels like there's a lot of time spent not doing very much. Most of it is driving or shagging.
Once they set off during the day, and it's night when they
when they arrive on the other side,
when they get through to the other side.
Made me think a lot about Lost Highway.
Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah. In fact, this sort of psychogenic fugue that happens in Lost Highway is not at all dissimilar to what's happening to Cooper, Diane, Richard, Linda. Mm-hmm. In this scene, so,
and I thought
maybe there's a Lynch verse.
Yeah, and it's probably worth mentioning at this point as well that I thought that Cooper felt slightly off once he got through to the other dimension. When they get to the motel, and Coop goes to get the key, and then Diane sees another doppelganger or version of her looking back at herself.
Yeah.
Part of me was like, oh, hello. And when Diane and Cooper go into the room and Cooper says, no, keep the lights off.
Turn off the light.
And she says, what do we do now? And he says, come over here. And
that's very uncooperish, yeah.
It felt very uncooperish, and as this latter half of the final episode went on, the more I began to see elements of Mr. C.
Me too.
In Coop as well.
Yeah,
and we'll discuss it when we get to it. But when he goes to the diner, I that could have been Mr. C for my money.
Yeah.
But. Before we get there, though,
I guess you could counter that by saying Mr. C was Cooper. He absolutely was. He was made up of Cooper material. So
yeah.
if you ask me to come down on one side or the other, I would say this was Coop. There was, but I definitely got the same feeling as you say. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was Cooper, but perhaps the blend.
Yeah.
The mix had been slightly changed, and
maybe it was just Kyle.
This was like
being a bit forgetful.
I don't know. I mean, I think his acting has been too good.
I think
this whole thing,
yeah,
and I think it's a bit too meticulous.
We do when he goes into the. When he goes into the motel room to book into the motel office to book the room, we do lose sight of him.
Mm-hmm.
We do.
Yeah.
But there's also a jump cut after Diane sees her tulpa or her doppelganger, whatever that might be. The action then jumps to later, and I think at that point I definitely think Diane's been replaced with something else.
Once they're in the motel room, they start having sex, and it's a really weird, unsettling kind of sex where
looks all right to me. I'll take
maybe
it.
That's how they do it in Denmark.
Well, it's a very interesting scene because it's a woman having sex with a man who is identical to the man who raped her.
Yeah.
And so she covers his face.
Mm-hmm.
Does she cover his face for that reason, or
that's what I thought?
Or was that a sign, a signal to her identity? The fact that she covers his eyes made me think that was a reference to the fact that she had been replaced. She was no longer Diane. She'd been replaced by whatever entity that was that came out of the Black Lodge that she had taken the form of without eyes. I think the fact that she covered Cooper's eyes as she was having sex with him actually was a sign that she was, again, underneath her skin, she was that character.
Oh, Nado again.
Nado, yeah. Because when she was in the other dimension, she was Diane inside the skin of Nado. Here, I think she switches to Nado inside the skin of Diane. And I think the fact that she covers his eyes, that's literally what she's doing. She's covering his eyes. I think that's a sign of the body switch. That's a nod to us, I think. Also, the sex, the way she's having sex, it's almost kind of like ritualistic. She's looking sort of heavenward, and it has this almost kind of religious sort of quality to it. And the camera is also like God's eye view. It's sort of looking down on her.
And Dale's got a very impassive sex face.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. It's almost like she's sort of fucking him into this different reality of somehow.
I think we've all had sex like that.
No, I haven't.
But anyway, the main takeaway is that this is not kind of romantic, full of love sex. This is something else. There's an undercurrent of something going on there. And it's quite telling that when he wakes up in the morning, Diane is no longer there. But there's a note from Linda to Richard saying that she doesn't recognise him anymore, and that she's off. And obviously I think there's an implication here that has Coop now become Richard, and has Diane now become Linda?
What did the fireman tell Cooper in episode 1 about Richard and Linda?
He just said Richard and Linda. 2 birds, 1 stone, and the numbers.
Is that what he said? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything beyond that.
I did notice also that when he leaves the motel, it's a different one. It's an entirely different building.
It's a different building, and it's gone from a 1-story building to a 2-story building. The car is parked in a different place. It's a different car.
Yeah.
So everything everything has
shag.
changed. Yeah. Because when he went to the motel, it had a kind of like a 1950s feel to it, and now this has a kind of like late 80s, early 90s feel to it.
What year is this?
Well, exactly. And Coop, I think, is still, you know, I don't think he has assumed the identity internally of Richard. He's still Coop. He's a little bit perplexed when he looks back at the motel. He's like, what's going on here? But he gets in the car nonetheless, starts driving, and his eye is caught by a diner called Judy's. So he pulls in, orders a coffee. Something that I noticed as well, that Cooper drank his coffee in a very, very perfunctory way. There was none of the usual Cooper enjoyment of the coffee, which again led me to think, you know, is the Coop Mr. C mix, you know, a little bit off.
My note was, you know, Dale Cooper is being weird and distant.
Yeah, definitely.
But what it means, though, my feeling was that this is Coop, but in new territory. I didn't get the feeling that when we were no longer with our Cooper. But it's just, I thought, well, where's he gone? Emotionally, and I felt it was him. I'm not right about that, because what you're suggesting, Jay, is interesting. But that it didn't cross my mind this was anyone else. It was just, I was perplexed as to why he was behaving this way.
Yeah. Another reason why I think the mix was a bit weird was that when the waitress is being accosted by the three cowboy guys, Coop leaps into action as Coop would, but his reaction to it, you know, with the firearms and the shooting the guy in the foot was pure Mr. C. You know, it made me think of the way he shot Ray in the
that's true, in the foot. Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah.
And, you know, the way he disposed of, you know, putting the guns in the oil and that sort of stuff.
That.
And he was waving the waitress was clearly kind of like terrified, you know, and Cooper felt like a little bit menacing.
Write the address on a piece of paper.
What?
Write the address of the other waitress on a piece of paper.
Yeah, putting her at ease was not in any way a priority of his. He wasn't interested. He was, he had his goals and was going to fulfill them, going to achieve them.
Although in subsequent scenes he's very much Cooper when he's talking to that's
what was kind of throwing me. It's like I did not think this was Cooper. I was just thinking, why is he being like this?
Like I said, I don't think it's not Cooper. I just think there's kind of like something bubbling under the surface there, you know, something that's a little bit more kind of like troubling and weird. But anyway, his mission is that he needs to get the address of the other waitress who he feels works at this place
for some reason.
Maybe this is some kind of like Cooper intuition. That's telling him this. Maybe he's got some prior knowledge.
I did feel that this was a bit of a leap, but yeah.
I mean, we have seen, you know, in the original series, Coop make those kind of like those leaps a little bit.
Yeah, but usually those leaps that he made then were based on a dream that we'd seen him have, and we'd been in on you know, his dreams. We'd see his dreams, and then he'd make decisions based on his own sort of interpretation of those dreams. This is completely without any sort of basis, but it's fine. I enjoyed watching.
Well, damn it, Mark. I mean, Lynch and Frost only had 18 episodes to bring us to this point. He just didn't have the time.
Yeah.
I felt that Dale's been. Is this part of his briefing? Is this that Mike? Is this stuff that he knows about from Mike still? That again, he's just not bothering to share with us. Because he's still it's like although the weird stuff's happened to him that he doesn't understand, he's still like the man with the plan. And we're not in on it. We're just watching him do stuff. And I just at this stage, it's how much of this is deliberate and how much of this is not. There's no way to tell at all.
But anyway, Coop drives out to the address and sees the weirdly travelling utility pole that has the number 6 on it, which was seen both in Deer Meadow and Twin Peaks previously, and now in Odessa.
It's exactly the same one, with the same numbering, the 324810. It's just the same telephone pole or electricity pole or whatever it is.
Probably explains why it was in Twin Peaks as well as Deer Meadow. It's
a portal.
It's moving around.
Yeah, just like the convenience store does.
Coop gets out of the car, knocks on the door, and lo and behold, it is somebody who looks almost exactly like Laura Palmer, only she's called Carrie Page. You
see, now this made me think: has Laura sort of quantum leaped into Carrie Page in the same way that that Cooper jumped into Dougie Jones? Is she a sort of is Laura Palmer now a sort of female Dougie Jones? Is this her sort of her Dougie Jones odyssey that she's going on? Is this has what happened to Cooper? Is this what has now happened to Laura?
Well, the impression I got very, very briefly is that in the previous episode, Coop's mission was really simple: take Laura by the hand and take her back to the White Lodge from whence she came in episode 8. Period. That's it. Then Judy snatches her away, and I feel this is some kind of pocket universe hiding place.
Yeah.
That Judy has stowed Laura in.
Oh yeah, because of course she owns the coffee there as well.
Yeah.
It's probably worth mentioning a line from season 2 from Wyndham Earl when he's got Leo trapped, and he does this whole big spiel about lodges and stuff. But I want to draw your attention to this particular thing when he's talking about the lodge spirits, and he says,
"And if harnessed, these spirits in this hidden land of unmuffled screams and broken hearts would offer up a power so vast that its bearer might reorder the earth itself to his liking."
So it kind of like indicates that these lodge spirits have the power to reorder the earth, and I think that's possibly what's happened here. Or you could be right. It's like a little pocket version, a little offshoot.
Yeah. I like Rob's idea that this is a kind of a sort of strange stashing place for inconvenient goodness.
I mean, and Cooper does warn Diane that when we cross over, we may not be the same.
Yes.
And that's justification for me. That's justification enough that you can go there, but you will change in the going. For me, that's justification enough for the fact that Dale is a different person in terms of his emotional demeanor.
She seems a bit like, in that sort of, in the same way that Dougie Jones was, clearly mentally challenged. It seems she also seems a bit slow, or maybe it's just that her geography is a bit dodgy. But she says, like, "Where's Washington? Will I need a jacket? I've got 2 jackets."
I don't think she asks where Washington is. She's just clarifying whether it's Washington State or Washington DC.
No. She asks later again. After that, she says, "Is it in the north?"
Washington, is that like up north? Do I need a coat?
Take a coat if you've got one.
I've got a couple. I'll grab one.
If that wasn't enough anyway, it's still pretty strange that she has a corpse in her living room that she sort of seems oblivious to.
Yeah. And I love that Agent Coop took the dead body shot in the head in his stride. It wasn't overly phased. He was like, interesting.
He's FBI. That's a problem for local law enforcement. She hasn't killed him across, a state line. It's fine. Is it the case that if you go there, you are different, and that Laura has been kind of willfully altered? She doesn't know who she is. That's the best way. How do you hide someone? You hide them from themselves.
I found it interesting in the performance that Coop was saying, your mother is Sarah and your father is Leland, and she's like, don't think so. But there was something just in the back of her eyes where there was like a distant recognition, which is why she was like, do you know what, I am going to come with you after all. And I don't think it's purely 100% the scenario that she's found herself in. I think something inside her kind of like wants to go with Coop.
Yeah. But I mean, it's such a strange situation because I mean, she's clearly she's in trouble with the law. I think for probably multiple reasons. I mean, isn't there's a sort of semi-automatic weapon lying on the living room floor? I noticed.
Yes, yeah.
It's the kind of Lynch scene I love. It's like at the end of Blue Velvet with the corrupt cop in the yellow suit who he's just standing there with a bullet hole in his head. It reminded me of that, and I love that.
And she's got that sort of kind of Sarah Palin kind of perky hockey mom type disposition to her as well. Which kind of heightens the strangeness of it all. But no, the little girl down the lane. I think this is the little girl down the lane. Carrie Page. As referred to several times in the lodge and by Audrey. You probably know. I don't know. The Little Girl Down the Lane. It's a 1976 movie and a book. It's based on a book.
Also a nursery rhyme.
Well, there's that as well. But Jodie Foster stars as this little girl who lives in a house, hiding the corpses of her parents.
They called her the little girl who lives down the lane. All alone in that big house. Who was she?
It's directed by Nicholas Gessner. But it seemed like that arrangement with this corpse that was kind of sitting there had sort of similarities to the situation in The Little Girl Down the Lane story. So I presume, and often Lynch likes his sort of references to movies. So and also I don't know if you noticed, but there's the white horse. On the mantelpiece.
I did, yes.
It was very difficult to miss.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But what I liked though was that it did provide for Coop that little extra confirmation. He noticed it, and that was significant.
There was something about this whole setup as well that made me think about the girl in the earlier episodes, the 119 girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This really did feel though like Dale Cooper has wandered into Lost Highway.
Yeah.
That's quite good because that segues into On the Road.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it does.
The long driving shots where Carrie is kind of like mumbling and falling asleep.
Odessa. I tried to keep a clean house. Keep everything organized. It's a long way.
I mean, I suppose it's worth noting that, I mean, if Audrey mentions the little girl down the lane, that more firmly puts her in the bracket of being connected to the Black Lodge world.
Yeah, especially with the electrical sounds when she looks at herself in the mirror as well.
But in this night driving sequence, which I did, although I kind of thought, wow, this is taking a lot of time considering this is the final episode. I guess it must all mean something. I did love the headlamps and the way it was shot and the suspense of those headlamps following them. Because I was saying, are they headlamps? Are they Judy's eyes? What the hell are they?
I did think that they were incredibly still.
That's what was freaking me out. They were unnaturally still. I thought, oh, what if they're not headlamps? Oh fuck!
I think that's just because they've been. I just think that's just that stuff had been shot in a studio, and it was sort of criminally obvious to me. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you've either of you have done a shoot like that. I've done several, you know, and it's like normally you would attach the. I think I did it once where I attached the lamps to a shopping trolley, and you sort of move the shopping trolley a bit, so you get a sense that something's moving, and then maybe have a couple of people on the prop car just sort of giving it a gentle bump, you know, just to feel like, you know, the thing's actually moving. But there was none of that, no effort with that at all. It was everything was completely still. It was so for me it was really obvious that they shot it in a studio, and kind of seemed to be a lack of effort to kind of disguise that.
Oh, I will say, and this is the one thing about how people can watch something completely differently, the stillness of those headlamps was terrifying me, because I was thinking at that point I was invested in this, and I was thinking, this all this stuff does feel pretty damn intentional, and those I thought, oh fuck, those aren't headlamps, are they? They're going to be something horrible.
I wish I could have watched it through your eyes instead.
Yeah, it was freaking me out. I actually enjoyed that.
I was somewhere between the two of you, in that I was like, this feels like it's shot on a stage, but at the same time the underlying creepiness of it was kind of like coming through. So I was literally in the middle.
I mean, ultimately it did go nowhere, but I enjoyed the journey. To nowhere.
I mean, I think it spoke to the paranoia of both Coop and Carrie, in that Carrie is worried about, you know, this is some holdover from Odessa, and maybe Coop, you know, because his eyes were flicking to the rearview mirror as well. He was like, is this trouble, you know, from Odessa, or is this some kind of like weird supernatural thing that's following me?
Yeah.
All of those things were running through my head, so I did like the tension of it, although it did kind of melt away.
Yeah, I mean, the very fact that, you know, the coffee place is Eat at Judy's, it's like this whole place is a construct of Judy's, and she's not going to take kindly to Dale having found Laura.
Yeah.
And that's where my mind was. So I was kind of Anyway, that's it pretty much. That's, you know, so we can.
It's sort of heartbreakingly sweet, isn't it? That he wants to take her back to her mum. Oh, it's just like it's just something touching and sort of futile about that somehow.
There is, but it's not his original mission, and that kind of gave me pause. It's like, oh, has Dale changed his mind about precisely what he's trying to do here?
Yeah.
Then again, I suppose he'd saved her, hadn't he? By that point, she no longer was her body. She was no longer murdered by that point. Time has changed, right? Let's say this is out. Let's say where they are now is outside of normal space and time. In normal space and time, has the murder of Laura Palmer been negated or circumvented now? How are we supposed to read it?
Well, we saw her corpse disappear, didn't we? So I think at least the events as we know them, they have been changed, I think.
Yes, yeah. We just don't know how the future. Yeah, but I think we are lost in time, so we don't know what the new order of things are. But we do know that the previous order has been overwritten.
I will say one thing, that if Judy wanted to hide Laura Palmer in this alternate reality, then she really shouldn't employ her in a coffee shop called Judy's.
She should have called it Sam's.
Yeah, Dave's or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, those headlights melt away, and they start travelling through Twin Peaks. They go over the railway bridge.
Well, there's a stop though, isn't there? There's a stop in the gas station.
Yeah, with modern petrol prices.
Ah, okay.
From that gas stop, they travel into Twin Peaks, and they go over the infamous railway bridge and drive past the Double R Diner. And there was a subtle difference between the Double R Diner from last we saw it, and I'm not sure whether this is a production mistake or whether this is intentional, but the last time that we saw the Double R Diner, it had written along the side of the building RR to go, and a big line, a big arrow, And in this version of the Double R Diner, that is missing.
Is it like the Twin Pines Mall becoming the Lone Pines Mall in Back to the Future?
Back to the Future.
Well, I don't know. It's a subtle thing. So, like I said, I'm not sure whether it's a production mistake, whether this was like a pickup shot or something.
Thing is, with this kind of story, we can now make excuses for it. I'm fine with that because things have we've definitely entered kind of the Twilight Zone. We're not in Kansas anymore. We can drop a fuck ton of stuff in here anyway. But yeah, that's all fine. I enjoy those little differences.
They end up at the Palmer residence.
Last stop, gentlemen.
Yeah, and this was my favorite scene out of the whole thing because it was unsettling, but so subtle and so just creeping. This weird undercurrent of just horror to it. I really loved it. It made my skin crawl.
Are you wearing trousers right now?
No, I am not.
I didn't think so.
So Coop and Carrie go up to their front door and knock on the door, and I think Coop is fully expecting to see Sarah Palmer answer the door. And instead, it's somebody different.
Yes.
FBI. I'm Special Agent Dale Cooper. Is Sarah Palmer here?
Who?
Sarah Palmer.
No, there's no one here by that name.
And as a little aside here, the actress who is delivering the lines is actually the owner of the house in real life.
She's very good. She's really good.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how meta we're supposed to interpret that.
I just thought she was really naturalistic. So that's surprising.
Yeah, so I don't know whether she's an actress in real life or Lynch just got lucky, but she is the actual owner of the location.
Chilling. It reminded me very much of that scene in Fire Walk with Me. In fact, instantly I got Harry Dean Stanton's voice in my head saying, "Come to think of it, Chalfont was the name of the person who owned it before that." Two
Chalfonts.
Two Chalfonts. Huh. And also, it made me think about the original series as well, where the same thing happened to Donna, who was doing the meals. She was doing Laura's Meals on Wheels round at the time, and she met the Tremonts or the Chalfonts, the grandmother and the grandson, who presumably is now the Jumping Man. When she went looking for them again, I can't remember which way around it was. I think they were called Tremont then. And then when she went again, there was somebody very similar to this lady who answers the door here, saying, "No, there's nobody here of that name. We're the Chalfonts," or vice versa.
But it's very interesting that the Tremonts and the Chalfonts are now passing this property between them.
Yes, of course, because she says she is called Tremont, right?
Yeah. And they bought it from the Chalfonts.
Yeah. I want to know what's going on with all that Tremonts and Chalfonts business.
Yeah. And I liked the way that we never see the husband or the male guy. He's just off screen. She just kind of like turns her head behind the door and
I like the way she does that. Yeah,
asks the questions.
That felt really kind of real, though, didn't it? As well,
exactly. Yeah, it felt very naturalistic. Yeah,
it felt real, but also creepy at the same time. You just hear this murmuring voice. It could be anybody. Is it? Oh, I don't know. Gave me chills.
I also loved Cooper's sinking feeling. As was unraveling. That was much, I thought, this is.
When he stops, actually, when they walk back across the road, and they're going back to the car, and then he thinks, "No, hang on," and he stops and he turns around, and he looks at the house, and then a thought occurs to him that totally breaks him, and his posture changes,
Yeah, it becomes almost Dougie-like.
Yeah, it's a brilliantly wordless moment, but it expresses perfectly what he's feeling, and it's really, really sad. And that's just before he says,
"What year is this?"
Very, very faintly, you hear Sarah Palmer go, "Laura!" And then Carrie Page screams. And all the lights start flashing and then goes out.
In recognition, perhaps, maybe that's her trigger in the same way that Dougie Jones had his Gordon Cole moment. But I think Cooper's sort of returned her to her inescapable fate, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
When we hear Sarah's voice, it's actually Sarah's voice from the very beginning of Twin Peaks, the very, very first moments of Twin Peaks.
It does sound like that, doesn't it?
It is, yeah. In the pilot, when she's looking up at the fan going around, the woo, 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 Laura. And it sort of further concretes that idea that we're dealing in infinite loops, and that in the end of this episode, Cooper has returned her to the beginning of the first episode. I think it pertains to that number 8.
Yeah.
And if the events of this series, this return, happened, then it erases the events of the first 2. But if they did, then this new dimension couldn't exist either. So
I know it's one of those time travel paradox things where in order for these events to be happening, the previous events had to have happened, because if they didn't happen, these events can't be happening. So
yeah.
But when the credits, starring Cal MacLachlan came up, my eyes were just like, what?
Oh, not me. I was fully expecting this. I was fully expecting a kind of cliffhanger.
Well, I did ask last week, will this end on a maddening cliffhanger? And it has.
In a way, though, I think it's important to sort of differentiate between the cliffhanger that we were left with at the end of season 2 and this one. I think they're fundamentally different. I think that when Twin Peaks ended all those years ago, with a cliffhanger, I think the difference is that while that one screamed with a kind of deafening sort of urgency that it needed to be continued on, I think with this one we had a sort of vision in episode 17 of what a resolution for this story might look like, but then it was sort of taken away from us. So we can imagine that version if that's what we want. But I think the point of this episode 18 is to show us how Laura Palmer is that classic Lynch or classic noir archetype, the woman in trouble, which is the tagline, I think, to Inland Empire. And she will be ad infinitum, it's perpetually so. She will be the woman in trouble, and Cooper will be that evergreen Boy Scout that will cross oceans of time to help a woman, help the damsel in distress or the woman in trouble. And, like he did with the woman in Judy's, the waitress in Judy's coffee place, because that's who he is, and that's and this is who Laura is, and the pair of them will continue on like this in an infinite loop. He will continue trying to save what is essentially unsavable forever. And so I think this episode 18, this finale, Lynch showed us how the story ends, and then he showed it how it would continue to end if it were to be told again and again and again. So that the How's Annie cliffhanger begs for completion, or to be closure. But this hanger was sort of showing us that closure is impossible, and that the loop continues indefinitely. That's why I'm pretty doubtful that there'll be a 4th season.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be a 4th season either. I could see there perhaps being a Fire Walk with Me style film, perhaps, but not a not a fourth season of Twin
I think this is his full stop, and in typical Lynch fashion, it's an infinity full stop. It's a full stop that just that keeps on stopping, but it's his final statement, I think.
Hey. That's it for this episode of the Formica Table podcast. We battled time and broken hard drives to bring you this episode, so thank you for your patience. But we're not done. At some point in the not too distant future, we'll be turning our attention to David Lynch's space epic Dune and sharing our thoughts, opinions and theories. Until then, let's rock.